الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. I seek refuge in Allah from the rejected enemy Shaitan, with Allah's name, the most merciful benefactor, the most merciful redeemer. All praise is due to Allah alone. We praise Him, we seek help from Him, and I bear witness that there is no deity except Allah alone. He has no partners. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His messenger. Allah points out in the Quran some very important points for humanity as a guide. When He says, "Zali kitabu la raiba fihi hudan lil muttaqin," He is telling us that this Quran is a guide for the God-fearing, for those who have taqwa. And here, it's just not meaning to have taqwa, because Allah created everyone with taqwa. So it means those who recognize the taqwa in them, those who have it, they have God-fearing, they fear Allah, reverence Allah, they in their nature, they are akin to that, and they adhere to that. The Quran is a guide for those. Now, those who don't accept the taqwa that's in them, and they go on some other kind of rational point, they don't receive the same guidance from the Quran because of their attitude, because of their way of looking at the world, the way of them looking at themselves. So they can't receive the same guidance that someone who recognizes that there is a creator. They fear that even if they don't recognize and can define who the creator is or what it is, they have this feeling in them, this deep regard for a creator. And as to those who don't, Allah says that they are people who they don't see. They don't see. They don't believe in the revelation that has been sent down. Those who reject faith, Allah says in Quran, it is the same to them, whether you warn them or whether you don't warn them. It's the same to them. They will not believe. And it says that Allah has placed on them a seal on their hearts and on their hearing, and on their eyes is a veil. Great is the penalty they incur. Now, when we read this, we have to read it with real comprehension and comprehending. Allah has set a seal. Some say place, some say set. But actually what it is that Allah allowed the seal to form on their hearing. He allowed the seal to form on their hearing, and on their vision is a veil. He allowed that to happen to them because of their insincerity. If they were sincere, certainly there would be no seal on their heart. That's just common knowledge, common understanding. our own thinking would help us with that. If a person is sincere, Allah is not going to place a seal on their heart so they can't believe. If a person is sincere, Allah is not going to deafen them so they can't hear. That wouldn't be fair. And Allah is a just God. So we know it has to do with the people themselves. The people themselves. Allah says He gives you the power to reject Him. That's what He's saying. You're not forced to accept Him. This is for people who willingly accept taqwa. Willingly, in their own heart. They say, I accept. I believe that there is a God. I believe there is Allah. They may not be able to explain all that, what they believe, but they have it in their heart. But there are some says, nah, I don't accept that there's a creator. I don't accept there's no creator other than man having accidentally come here, and man will be able to make his own way without any adherence to any kind of supreme being. For those, they can't see. They can't hear. But now it's for us to try to get some rational understanding. Allah says in Surah to Nisa, when He says, O mankind, Ya ayyuhan nasi, O mankind, reverence your guardian Lord, Rabb. Reverence. Taqwa is used here. Again, the same one that Allah says, those who have taqwa. It's from the same root. So here in Nisa, Allah is saying, reverence that. Allah is saying, look, your guardian Lord, meaning the one who has brought you along the way from the times of our existence as animals, brutes, in the fields, on the deserts, in the jungles. Allah brought us out of all of that and brought us into what we see we are today. Allah says, reverence this. Pay some homage to this, that Allah did this. And then in the same ayat, Allah says, He talks about Arham, the womb. And He says, in the same phrase of reverencing the creator, or the nourisher, the Rabb, He says that reverence the Arham. Most people translate that as the womb of woman. Because then Surah Nisa, the assumption is that they're talking about. But when you look at the deeper meaning of this, you know it's much bigger, much bigger than the womb of a female. Whether it be man, human being, or whether it be animal, it's much bigger than that. Because all human beings come by a female. But that female has to first get the sperm planted in her by the male. So it's a joint effort. Automatically, your mind has to tell you that this means something else other than just reverence the womb. What about the male who brought the sperm to the womb? Without that willingness, without that timely effect that bring that about, there will be nothing in the womb. If that man had turned and went in another direction for one moment, there's nothing in the womb. So it's much bigger than that. Much bigger than that. And we have to see what Allah is showing us in the essence. The world we live in has gotten out of hand. The world, as it is, has gotten out of hand. And when we begin to connect what Allah is telling us in the Quran, then we begin to see the picture of what this world is about. But we can't see it until it's connected. Because just like Allah says, the veil, there's a veil over the eyes of the masses of the people. Not one placed there by Allah, but one because they have come as part of the world that they're living in. And this world that we're living in has placed a veil of mystics, a veil of falsehood, a veil of false rationality, a veil of racism, a veil of superiority, a veil of greed, a veil of overcoming weak people, controlling them. All those things are veils that prevent man from seeing the pure essence of what Allah has created the human being to be. And this world has placed the veil over the eyes of all the human beings in this world who are not appearing through the taqwa that Allah has put in us. The world is out of control. The rulers can no longer manage the world. It's out of control. It has gotten away from them. The world has gotten away from them. I had the unfortunate experience to, well, several, it's not just one time. I've witnessed many janazas, funerals of my family. Some distant, some very close, and so have many of you. And, I mean, down to daughters, wives, mothers, and fathers, so we witnessed it. But in some of them, it seemed senseless, the end that they came to, if we just thinking rationally. But when we realize the kind of world we live in, this world is out of control. I look at the cities. The same scene is in Chicago, Las Vegas, New York, Philadelphia. And all of these scenes point to the fact that the world is out of control. When we look at the world, especially here in America, this is one of the biggest controlling factors. We have crime, a higher degree of crime, brother against brother, drugs. Drugs have gotten so bad in the streets that the governor had to come on TV and say, we're going to try to do something. See, the last time they did it, when it was just in the African-American community, they claimed a war on drugs. But the reality is, it was a war by some of those who was in control on the African-American community. And drugs was one of the weapons used to slow down the growth and progress of the African-American community. And history shows this, and you should read up on these facts. Then you can get a better picture of the world. As the controllers, social scientists, power brokers, try to use their power to keep the flow of the world, it got out of hand. Now the young, wealthy Caucasian kids, they're all not Caucasian, but you can identify better when you see that, coming out of the Beverly Hills, coming out of the Berkeley Heights, coming out of the other areas where they live in this affluent life, to get heroin, because they hooked on heroin, epidemic, to get other drugs, to get manufactured drugs, This is what they are doing, and it's bad. It wasn't this bad, they would say it when it was just in the African-American community. They would blame it on the African-American. They would say, oh, the African-American people, they're just drug addicts. African-American people just lean to drugs. But now that is in a broader spectrum, it's an epidemic, they call it. And many of these young people got addicted, and not just young people. There's some people who get sick and have to have certain drugs to keep the pain off of them, and then when they can't afford those drugs anymore, they go to heroin. You see, it's out of control. And we're in this world. The drugs, and you have on the brink of that, you have wars all over. You have wars in the East where brothers are killing brothers, Muslims are killing Muslims. And no matter what they say and how they say it, the Quran does not support that position. The Quran does not support the position of anyone who calls himself a Muslim, who takes his brother's life. It's even bad if it's done by accident. But on purpose, in act of war, the world is out of control. Muslims killing Muslims. Christians killing Christians. Wars. And now we have rumors of bigger wars. We have other countries who have the power to have nuclear weapons. Now they're getting the power to deliver them anywhere in the world. And some of them are warmongers. Some of them believe that the nature of existence is based on war. And your strength and your existence and your purpose in life will only continue if you are strong and powerful and able to make war against other people who don't think like you in order for you to bring them into control. This is the world we're in. And the world is out of control. Now, we cannot be like the ostrich and stick our head in the sand, thinking because we bow down and make rakats and so forth and so on, the world is not out of control. The world is out of control every time you bow down your head on the carpet and say, Allahu Akbar. Every time you mention anywhere, Assalamu Alaikum, the world is still out of control. That's the reality of the world. And we cannot turn our backs on this reality. We can't fool ourselves about this reality. The world is out of control. Deviant lifestyles. Deviant lifestyles. Not only you have men fraternizing with men, you have men having homosexuality, homosexual behavior with men and women. Deviant behavior. And it's growing at an alarming rate. At an alarming rate. It's growing so fast that you can hardly tell the difference now. And the psychology that is used is to convince them that it's all right. And some even say it, they say it's all right, and then they follow up with say, and God still loves you. Jesus still loves you. You be whatever you want to be. Jesus still loves you. And they say it as if the Creator has not laid out a guideline. As if the guideline has just been wiped up and say, no, forget about the guideline that you read about in the Bible or the Quran or the Torah. Forget about that guideline. Do what you want to do. Live your life the way you want to do it. The world is out of control. What is it? What is it? And remember, we were talking about Abraham, the womb. And the bigger term is Rahman or Rahim. That's what that word is rooted in. When we look at the story in the Quran and in the Bible, when it talks about Adam, and Allah has created Adam, and instructed Adam not to go near this tree, and if you should go near this tree, it will surely ruin you. It will bring you to ruin. And some scriptures even say, talk about it as a fruit, the tree bearing the fruit. It says, if you eat of this fruit, surely you will die. Some of the scriptures put it that way. What is the fruit? What is the fruit off the tree, and what is the tree? If we don't know these things, and we can't put these things in terms of a real sense, then how can we avoid them? You can't avoid something if there's a hole in the floor, and you don't know the hole is in the floor. You may miss it a couple times, but the more you walk on that floor, the more likely that one time you're going to step in that hole. So you have to know the hole exists in order for you to miss that hole 99% or 100% of the time. Because you know the hole is over there to the left, so I'm always going down to the right. But you must be able to understand that. You must be able to see the hole and know what the hole means. So Allah says, go not near the tree. Shaitan says, eat of the tree. Because when you eat of the tree, surely you're going to become wise. You're going to become like God. You're going to know the great things in the universe. Deceiving man. Inviting man into destruction. Okay, let's take that pattern. Let's take that story and put it on an overlay of the world. Let's look at the world now. Let's look at the world. This story of Adam and Eve that Allah has in Quran. Now let me just pick it up in a big frame and just set it right down on the world and see if we can see the world in that story. What is the one thing in the world that either corrupts the people or it helps the people? This is so bad in some situations that certain rulers of certain countries and certain nations oppress the people before they let the people have it. They oppress the people. And that fruit is freedom. The fruit that Allah is talking about that comes off the tree is freedom. The freedom to do something, the freedom to do what you want to do. That fruit can be dangerous, and that fruit can be productive. And Allah warns us about the certain tree that this fruit comes off of. You can't eat that fruit. But there are other trees in the garden. Allah says it's fine. You can do whatever you want with them. Meaning that the freedom you get from these other elements that are directly from the nature in which Allah created is fine. But this that comes from this tree that's corrupted, it's not good for you. So some countries, some rulers say there's no freedom in this country. They oppress the people. They oppress the people because they're afraid that if the people had freedom, they would take the country over. They're afraid if the people had freedom, they would overrule the country and move the governing figures out. So they force them into oppression. No, you cannot do that. No, you cannot do that. No, and if we see you doing it, we're going to kill you. It is freedom they're talking about. It is freedom they're talking about. They don't want the people to be free, to learn and grow and develop. Because they understand the reality of freedom If you cannot control freedom within your own self, within your own taqwa, it can become dangerous. They don't even want to risk it. So they outlaw it. If you go to those countries and try to practice freedom, you're going to be in jail or killed just for practicing freedom. Go to one of the countries and try it. If they tell you such and such, and no, I'm going to do this instead. But this country here has some regulations too, you know. You can't drive as fast as you want. You can't do other things. They have to have some regulations. They try to regulate freedom. But they have a greater degree of freedom in this country than any other of the world-leading countries. But the freedom is dangerous. And it's that very freedom in a corrupt culture corrupts the people. We're living in a culture that has been corrupted over the years by racism. It has been corrupted by money-hungry leaders and rulers. We're living in a culture that came into this land and took this land from the inhabitants of the land. We live in a culture that was formed on the basis of putting Africans enslaved in order to produce cotton and tobacco. We live in a culture that spent half their time trying to oppress the same people that helped them build this country. What kind of attitude is forming in the mind of people who do that? What kind of attitude is in the mind of a slave master who has to stand 24 hours a day with his foot on the neck of the one he has enslaved? He's also in prison. He's also being corrupted by the same action he is doing. So we're living in a society that's totally corrupt. We're living in a society that's so corrupt, you cannot take these ideas they give you and use them, because they will corrupt your Islam that you have, that you may have, that you may think you have. They will corrupt your Christianity. They will corrupt your Judaism. These little gems they give the people, say you're free, do whatever you want to do. You want to practice homosexuality, go do that. It's corrupt. So Allah says in the Quran that He gives us the Quran as a guide for those who have taqwa, because we need it. We cannot get out of this, from under this culture, without being corrupted by it. You see a kid going down the street this way and come back gay that way. You see people into drugs. You see people, brothers and sisters, shooting down each other. You cannot live in this society without following the guide that Allah has laid out in the Quran. And if you stay close enough to that which has been laid out in Christianity, if you don't even understand it, but if you stay close enough to it and don't let the society corrupt it, you might be able to make it through then. And same thing with Judaism. There's a possibility, because Allah says those who follow the gospel and those who follow the Torah, their reward is with their Lord, which means they have the opportunity if they follow it. It's very difficult in this society because it's the one who wears the cross around his neck who is teaching homosexuality. The one who stands with the cross around his neck is with the one who's making the billions of dollars off the poor. So it's very difficult because they don't want to see their congregation to come up and rise up with this moral strength to make the changes that's necessary to be made. So we live in that society. This is why we preach so hard here. That we must begin to build cultural centers. Centers of culture where we begin to get the control of culture. Based on this Quran. Where we can use the Quran as the foundation to begin to reshape the minds of the people. If we do not start reshaping the minds of the people, They would just overcome us like wild grass. But because Allah's plan is going to be fulfilled, Allah says simply, for those who come into this understanding we're talking about now, that if you don't do it, Allah says, if you're not willing to do it, and He's been saying it for ages, He'll just replace you with another people. That's what He would do. This is not hard for Allah. Look at the old ancient times when people ruled and wouldn't change their ways. Allah just moved them aside and brought in another people in the same land and from the same genetic makeup. But their philosophy and their idealism had changed completely, that the people who had the crazy ways were no longer even remembered in an honorable sense. So when Allah says in this ayah, Revis Araham, taqwa, having taqwa for Araham, the mercy that Allah has created in the human being. He has created this whole creation out of His mercy. Not just the woman, not just the womb of the woman, but He's talking about the whole idea, the concept of man and woman, male and female, the concept of the community, giving birth to new minds and new ideas within that community, the concept of the society which is born to breed, to develop good, balanced minds. The balanced community that Allah describes in this Quran. This is what Allah is pushing us to. Allah is guiding us to. We have to see the womb of creation. Creation is a womb. Creation is the Araham that Allah has created. The Araham is the creation. And out of that creation comes everything you see. Everything is born out of that. Male, female, societies, countries, ideas, concepts, everything comes out of that Araham. That first Araham, out of the mercy of Allah, His mercy. And if we begin to understand this thinking, we can begin to take control of our lives. And not just the lives of ourselves as individuals, but the lives of our community. The lives of the balanced community that Allah is talking about. That brings about peace. Not peace by the gun, the barrel of the gun, but peace by truth. 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 The truth that lets a man know no man was walking on water. That's a concept. That's an idea. An idea that man has the power to overcome the sentimentality of his society, overcome the emotions of his society if he follows his moral consciousness. The truth. The truth is what we must know. The truth, when you're talking about Musa, you're talking about laws. You're not just talking about a man. No, you're talking about what represents moralness, what represents moral consciousness. A truth. We need to know the truth that the symbols and signs of the Quran and these other texts are talking about something that we must put into our lives. So with that, we want to take a short pause. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. We want to close the khutbah, today's khutbah, with the importance of taqwa, with the importance that we should really get an understanding of these things, not just in terms of words. Let's get beyond memorizing words. Let's get beyond memorizing ayats. Got to get past that. Got to get past that. We don't get past memorizing ayats, we will never be able to live the life that Allah has instructed us to live. We got to get to the point where we can feel the Quran. Where when we see action in the world, we can tell this is Allah working. We got to get to the point where we can feel the Quran as we read the different parts. Understanding comes to us. Not some understanding that just because we say a word, that means we read the Quran. That doesn't mean you're reading the Quran. This is an Arabic Quran. Meaning that, and just listen to the way it's said, a Quran in Arabic, Arabic Quran. However you say that, it means that the Quran is something bigger than the language. It means it's bigger than the language. But it's in this language because this language will get you to help you to understand this Quran. And the Quran has to be your life. And when one of the Prophet's wives would ask, what about Prophet Muhammad? Tell us a little bit about it. She said, when you see Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you see the Quran walking. Now that's the kind of attitude, that's the kind of directions we should have as individuals. We shouldn't have to wait for our brother to accept Islam. We should be following the Quran ourselves. We should be following the Quran our own individual self like Prophet Muhammad did. He was all alone when he received Quran. He believed it. Got up and started walking it. Became a living example of the Quran, and that's what you will become. That's what we will become. A living example of the Quran when we follow this Quran. And don't let the world's influence change our thinking from this Quran. And that will cause the world to change. That will cause the world to be able to accept what this Quran is doing when they see us living it. So the Quran is our guide. So we thank Almighty Allah for blessing us to be here this day. Jumu'ah. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Our Lord, give us the best of this world and of the hereafter, and protect us from the fire. Ameen. He come unto Samad.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد